All right, so now moving on to the men's NCAA basketball. Y'all know what time it is, man. It's conference tournament time. We got to warm up the skids, make sure the conference get their bids in. Automatic, at large, don't really matter. So with that said, we down to our Final Four in the ACC. Miami versus Duke, Virginia Tech versus North Carolina. In the Big Ten, we got a little more to chew off there. They're down to they had 4 teams that qualified for the next round already. Then we got 2 more games left. So we'll see where that goes. The Big East down to the Final Four. So is the Big 12, Pac-12, the SEC. They're just one of them teams that like to play all the way up to Selection Sunday. Like the minute, like the championship game go off, confetti come down, and then they switch over to CBS. All right, boys, let's talk about this. Rick, Jay, and Ben. So with all of that said, we getting down to where the rubber meets the road, Jay, in the conference tournament. Give us some insight. What are you looking for as far as the rest of the conference tournament? Who do you see winning? Who do you see? How do you see this impacting seeding? Let us know something, man.
Yeah, thanks, Rick, or Ben, or whatever the name is. I think what the ACC has going on, it's been somewhat of a down year for the ACC. I think Duke's the only team that'll be, above the 3 line. But I do think, like, if you see Duke Miami playing right now, but I think, remember Coach K losing on Saturday to North Carolina in his final regular season game, and I think that was in Durham.
Right.
Man, if he could get another crack at North Carolina, potentially. North Carolina play Virginia Tech at 9:30 this evening, and that's gotta mean something. So I think the ACC definitely something I'm looking for, because a potential Duke North Carolina ACC tournament championship game would definitely be worth watching tomorrow at some point. The Big East, sometimes we don't pay a whole lot of attention to it just because it's the Big East. But I tell you, like, to have like Providence, Villanova, and UConn all ranked in the top 25, and Providence, Villanova right around the top 10, that's telling. So in Providence, I think 25-4 this season. So we'll see. And they're playing Creighton. I think they're playing Creighton right now. So we'll see. But that's just an example of, like, Big East. They got some teams out there. Obviously, we know about Villanova, seeing them year in, year out. They're a team worth watching. But I guess keep an eye on UConn and Providence come next week as well. There's a couple 1 seeds that already went down. You had, or a couple. It was 2 1 seeds. You had Illinois in the Big Ten go down today against Indiana. A huge win for Indiana because they're on the bubble right now. And then A&M, Texas A&M as well. I think they're a little bit further down the bubble, but a big win nonetheless against a top 5 team in Auburn. The two major victories there for teams that definitely need to improve their resume. And you also had Baylor go down yesterday against Oklahoma. What I read earlier in The Athletic, they think that Oklahoma now at 18-14 with that win has done enough to get in, but not sure how I feel about that, because 14 losses is a whole lot.
That's a lot.
I might feel a little bit better. If you can beat Texas Tech tonight and just get them 19th, but there's still a lot of losses. And depending on, I know they got a lot of quality wins, but that's going to be tough. The SEC, I just do want to highlight them real quickly. I know they got a football reputation, but I will say, like, they got 3 teams that I think are all serious. Auburn, Kentucky, and Tennessee, all serious, all in the top 10 right now. I think we got to pay attention to all those teams. And then Pac-12, what are we doing with this Colorado-Arizona game? The number 2 team in the nation gets to play on the Pac-12 network. As usual, the Pac-12, the butt of the joke. Go ahead, Drink.
I wasn't even ready for that, but that's funny. Listen, so with that said, no, I want to comment on your point about the Big East. I think this is fantastic. I think the Big East then lost some allure over the time, and you remember it broke up, and then it kind of came back together, and people didn't really know it came back together until like recently. I always thought when you're talking about top tier basketball programs or top tier basketball conferences, I thought it was always between the Big East and the ACC. I just felt like basketball. It's like the same thing in football. We feel like football means more in the SEC. You know what I'm saying? So I've always felt like basketball meant more for the ACC and the Big East. Not to say it's not good basketball in the rest of the nation. I just feel like, just like football, it's good football all over the nation, but you don't have the intensity like the SEC or that want to. So to your point, I do think people sleep on the Big East because of the names of the teams and we're not as familiar. You know, Providence fell off for a while. We forgot about Providence. Creighton, they've been out of the mix for a while. UConn, you know, a team we are familiar with, we kind of just be like, yo, where they been at? Is Kevin Ollie still there? Like, it's like things like you kind of forget about them. Villanova is probably the only mainstay that's in that conference where we're like, we know Jay Wright, we know what Villanova going to do. We got to Google the rest of these guys because it's just been a while. Like, it's just what it is. When it's been a while, it's been a while. But to your point, I would love to see a rematch between Duke and North Carolina for the ACC championship. Just like you said, man, them players had to feel like crap to seeing Coach K out like that. On a game that you should have won, that was on your floor, and you lose to North Carolina, a game where if they had lost the game, it wouldn't have hurt them that bad just because of everything that came with the game. And they won the game, so now they kind of like, yeah. So I wouldn't mind seeing that. I guess a better question, and when we get into talking about March Madness itself, I would love to, hopefully we can talk about this before at some point, because I'm just curious on like how many, one of the things I look for on Selection Sunday is how many teams do a conference get in? And I always know that these tournaments matter when we talk about how many teams, like you just said about Oklahoma. If Oklahoma don't beat Baylor, we ain't talking about Oklahoma get in. Now, Oklahoma could probably beat Texas Tech and be in like they don't have to worry about playing a first four game or something like that. Right now, they probably would. Let's just be honest about that. They got in, they should definitely be one of the teams playing the first four game. But maybe another win keeps them out of that. So, you know, I just feel like right now, for men's basketball and for women's basketball, for that fact of the matter, what they're doing now is they're kind of drawing their fan base back again. After COVID really messed college basketball up, I think, honestly, I don't think it's a sport that took a hit worse than college basketball did when COVID came. Because the NBA is a professional, so they was able to muster their way through it. The NFL, all the pro leagues was able to get it together. But college got kind of hit harder because they're students and they're not getting paid and all this other stuff. So you have to worry about the school aspect as well as the athlete aspect, right? The NFL, college football was able to, you know, it's considered outside. So they able to spread people out and wear masks and come up with these bubbles and do things. I thought college basketball kind of got the short end of the stick. So I'm glad to see that it's coming back. March Madness, you know what time it is. We're about to get into that. And the conference tournament seems to be right in the position that we want them to be in for the popularity of the sport. So I can't wait to see how the rest of the weekend unfolds. Like I say, you got teams that's going to play all the way until the confetti comes down. But I'm glad to see the love, the happiness, the environment, the impact that these games have starting to come back around, started bringing that excitement back into the sport. So I can't wait for that. And we'll see who do what come Selection Sunday.
Hey, get them weight rooms together. Make sure they tight NCAA. I don't want to deal with that again.
No, I'm pretty sure they already took care of that one. They was like, nah. And look, and I'm glad you said that because that's the funny thing. I think because of that scenario is the reason why they was trying to do the whole, we want to play both tournaments in the same city so they can like minimize what having to spread out so much. Yeah, that didn't go very far. But I do think that's where the idea came from.